Welcome back to Up Close. We're talking this morning about that violent motorcycle gang assault against an SUV driver and his family in Upper Manhattan 2 weeks ago. 7 people, including an off-duty undercover New York cop, are now charged in this incident. The driver of the SUV critically hurt one of the bikers. He's not facing criminal charges, but he may not be in the clear just yet. Why? Joining us to help understand all the legal challenges, and there are many involved in this case, is David Schwartz, a former prosecutor, somewhat famous as well, with the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office. David, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Bill.
Before we begin, you know, this tape infuriated so many people. You're a lawyer, you look at it a little differently, but you're also a dad. How did you look at it? How did you feel when you saw it?
Every dad's worst nightmare. Can you imagine riding with your family on the West Side Highway and you have your 2-year-old in the back seat, and of course, you know, when you have your baby in the back seat, you're always concerned about everything. But to be surrounded by this motorcycle gang, you know, you could understand. I think a lot of people sympathize with the driver in the situation.
Before we get to the legal questions about the guys who were busted and the guys who are wanted for questioning, let's talk about some of the legal problems that may be facing Mr. Leanne, even though he was seriously hurt in the beating. Because he did, I don't know if he panicked, but I would have panicked, and he did drive over a guy, and I assume he's going to face some civil action against him.
Yeah, on the criminal side, certainly there was no intent on the part of the driver, Leanne, but on the civil side, it's a much lower standard. So on the civil side, you just have to tip the scales. It's the preponderance of the evidence. So you will be seeing a lawsuit against this driver on the part of the injured biker. No question about it.
All right, because he's got a family, and he's now perhaps paralyzed.
Absolutely. I mean, you have damages. So the 2 parts of a case is liability and there's damages. Damages are all done. Certainly there's horrible damages. The question is liability. Was the driver negligent when he committed this act? And some could argue he was.
Because what if he just stayed there or called 911, which he did, and the police hadn't arrived yet. But he took off.
He sure did. And I think a lot of people will sympathize with that point of view, that, look, he did the right thing. He did what a reasonable person, it's the reasonable person standard.
And juries are supposed to be reasonable people, right?
And juries are supposed to be made up of reasonable people. Was this driver reasonable? That'll be the question, or was he negligent? And that'll be an interesting issue.
And if you're a parent or if you're not a parent, you're going to ask that question and say, what would I have done with or without a child in the back seat in that situation?
Right. I think a lot of, if you have parents on that jury, they're going to say, this guy acted reasonably. I would have done the same exact thing and taken off. He
was in fear of his life and the life of his family.
Absolutely.
All right, let's talk about the legal situation for the people who have been charged so far. 7 charges, 4 with assault, 3 with criminal mischief. Among them, a New York cop, off-duty undercover, who has been charged with gang assault and assault. Let's talk about the police aspect of this. There were 3 police officers at least in that crowd. 1 has been charged. They've got a big road here ahead of them, right?
Look, I know the police aspect is a big news story, but from the criminal standpoint, and I'm not talking about the administrative or the civil standpoint, but from a criminal standpoint, it doesn't make a difference of whether or not they were police officers or not. The analysis really is, what did they do during this action? Did they act in concert to commit this assault? And certainly one of the police officers, the undercover police officer, is being charged with gang assault, and that's a serious crime. That's a C felony. That's a number of years. That's up to 15 years in jail if convicted. So, but his actions will be analyzed like everyone else's actions. Being a police officer has nothing to do with the criminal charge.
All right, and the political side of it, though, the news angle part of it for the police department, for Ray Kelly's last 3 months in office, it's not like how he wants to be remembered.
Well, there are 2 courts here, right? There's the criminal court, and then there's the court of public opinion. And that's what we do here, the court of public opinion. And certainly the news story is going to be, how could a police officer allow this to happen? And that'll come up in the civil case against the city, because there will be a civil case against the city. This police officer had a duty to act, and also administratively, what's going to happen to this police officer?
Right. I think that's probably, from what we understand, if he's guilty of this, he'll probably lose his job, obviously.
Oh, 100%.
And the question of the other cops, though, who were just riding along in this group, and didn't do anything, so far they're claiming that they were too far back to do anything.
Well, look, they've gone after the low-hanging fruit. They've gone after the defendants who were seen punching the car and dragging the victim out of the car. So those are all low-hanging fruits. The question becomes, and of course, taking your helmet and bashing the window in, but the others that were riding with these other defendants, what are they going to be charged with? Are they going to be charged at all? And the whole case hinges upon, were they acting in concert? Was this an organized effort on their part? Were they at least 1% guilty of this crime. And you know what? You can make an argument when you look at that video that this seemed to be a very organized effort, right? They all stopped at the same time. They all seemed to know their positions. They surrounded the vehicle. When the vehicle took off, they all knew to take off, and they seemed to be very organized. If this was an organized effort, who knows? You may see some charges. You may see some charges against some of those others in order to get them to cooperate against the defendants that have been charged.
And if you're just there and close to the situation and not stopping it, is the average bike rider liable for criminal charges?
No, absolutely. If you're just there and you're not participating and you just happen to be riding your bike, you're not liable for anything.
We talked several times about the video. We have remarkable video in this case of this incident. If we didn't have it, we may not 2 weeks later be talking about it on this show.
We wouldn't be. It would be another assault. Look how much crime takes place. Even though we're at the lowest crime level ever, you know, we still have murders every day. We still have assaults every day. People get beaten up every day.
But increasingly we see it on videotape.
But we're talking about this now because of the aspect of the case and the video.
Well, we've been looking at this very closely, and I want to show you some videotape of one bike rider that at first we thought may have been a hero in all this, trying to stop the violence. Let's take a look at this if we can, Eddie. Look at the guy we circled in the red. Right. We're going to show it a couple times. It looks like he's holding off other bikers from, that's Mr. Leon on the ground, and you see a Good Samaritan nearby, and it looks like he's saying, whoa, back off. But then we looked at other pictures, including this, the same guy with his hand through Mr. Leon's car window. Before the incident, before Leon was on the ground and seriously hurt. If we can look at this again, we'll take another look at it, because this is out of context. This guy at first looks like he's doing this. He said, hey, wait, back off, guys. And what we did talk to the police. They want to question this guy, and they told us, no, he's not a hero. We believe he was one of the guys who may have been attacking the driver. Right. So what does that tell us about video?
Yeah, look, video, video could be very unreliable at times. So you have to watch the whole video. You never know. So like, you may have thought that he just ran over at that point, at that period of time, and he was telling everyone to stay away. But meanwhile, he was there for a number of seconds. He was seen bashing in the window, and he's standing over the driver who's already on the floor, all bashed up from the assault. So the video is only one piece of evidence. That's why you can't go by video, even though it's always a very strong piece of evidence. So just one piece.
A defense attorney would make exactly the case you're making, even though people at home might look at that video and say, hey, oh God, that guy's dead to rights. He is guilty.
Not so much dead to rights, because he's not seen on the video committing the assault, right? So we do see him on the video going like this while the driver's on the floor. We do see him at the window. It's not that clear what he's doing at the window. It seems like he may be hitting the window, but you could come up with, a defense attorney could come up with a million arguments.
And a prosecutor might say he's trying to drag Leon out.
As to why maybe he just ran over and banged the window because he's so appalled at what he just saw, and then he runs over to the scene. He's trying to get people away.
And it's all about reasonable doubt to a jury at that point.
Absolutely.
So the video, even though we have all this video, David, it doesn't necessarily appear as we think it might appear in a court of law.
Exactly. A video does speak 1,000 words. A video is a very powerful tool in a courtroom, and jurors love video. They don't want to see the lawyers just speaking the whole time. Jurors love exhibits. They love video, and you will see this video played over and over again during this trial. However, it's the way you interpret the video, and certainly the prosecution will interpret the video much differently than the defense, and that's why we have trials.
I will say, a little inside baseball to our business, we deal with this question every day, because we get video in, and if you're only seeing a little slice of it out of context, then what does that do?
Exactly. There are so many times, in fact, defense attorneys, prosecutors are usually more guilty of this than defense attorneys. They'll try to slice up a video in a case, and they'll try to show the jury just one piece of the video. The defense will get up and say, I object, Your Honor. I want the whole video shown to the jury, not just the little slice that the prosecution wants to show to the jury. So that happens a lot in trials.
In the segment before yours, we had two city councilmen from New York say they want legislation to mandate permits for these bike groups. Problem getting that through?
Well, I guess now, since everyone's on it, there probably won't be a problem. But it's very reactionary. When city council people come on, they want to react to a story that happened. Sometimes it becomes overbroad. We don't want to punish those bikers who are lawful citizens of New York and ride their bike and don't commit. And the vast majority of bikers are law-abiding people. We don't want to classify people. And unfortunately, our elected officials, they come out after the fact and they say, oh, we want to do this overbroad legislation. So I haven't seen the legislation yet.
They want to have a permit. They want to have permits for people who are going to go in mass like that.
It sounds reasonable, but you still have to read the details because sometimes it becomes too overbroad.
You're such a lawyer. David Schwartz,
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks for joining us, giving us some insight. I didn't mean that in any kind of pejorative way, of course.
No. Thank you.
Thanks, David. When we come